It's September the 17th, 2011. I'm Mike Benedetti. This is 508, a show about Worcester. Today on the show from the Winslow Street Peace Park in Worcester is Sarai Rivera, challenger for the City Council seat from District 4 in Worcester. How are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you. Nice Saturday morning.
It's a beautiful day, and this is a
Yes.
nice spot to do it.
It is. I love the Peace Park.
It's outside, but it's not too cold, which is a good mix.
Yes.
So we're going to ask Sarai these questions that we came up with over the summer about different policy things in the city of Worcester coming up to the election. This show, I guess we're taping it before the preliminary election, but you'll be seeing this after the preliminary election. And campaign season should have heated up by the time people on television are watching this. If you have any feedback, you can email us at pieandcopy@gmail.com. All right. What is local government's role in regulating the day-to-day lives of citizens, and is there a limit?
You know, I think that we all follow rules and regulations. Is from not jaywalking to stopping at a light to noise ordinance and things like that. I mean, I think there is a limit that we don't lose a sense of autonomy and independence, which is the freedom of this country.
Right.
So I think that it's natural. We all follow, just like in school and, you know, everyday, day-to-day things, we have regulations. As long as it doesn't go where it's infringing in our belief system or our level of autonomy, our freedom, we're good.
Okay. And do you think local government has a particular role in that? I guess I'm just asking because people oftentimes complain about the city council sort of coming up with regulations out of left field, it seems like sometimes.
Yeah, and I think, that taking into account the voice of the residents, when they're coming up with something that seems kind of, like you say, off left field, that when people say, listen, I think this is a little off, they need to hear that. They need to listen to their constituents and not only just hear them and listen to them, but actually put into action what they're saying.
Okay. What is your personal vision for the city?
You know, Worcester's great. I really love Worcester because it has a lot of uniqueness to it. I always tease people that I know from out of town because they're always like, oh, you're from Boston. I'm like, I'm not from Boston. I'm from Worcester.
It's a totally different thing.
Yeah, it's very different. And they're like, okay, you know. I always say that I think that we're underrated for what we have, and I would love to see that Worcester shines for what it is. So we have wonderful historic pockets in our city. We have a wonderful history. We have good arts. I'd love to see the arts enhanced in our city. I love that we have cultural festivals. I'd love to see more of that. More activities that families can enjoy together. And I think that when you look at, like I always say, I mean, Providence is nice, but I don't think Providence really has much on us. I think it's just that they've kind of organized to enhance Providence. And I think that we in Worcester can do a lot of the same thing, if not more, in the city.
What's your view on the relationship between the city council and the city manager?
I really think that there needs to be a clear understanding as to how that works. And so really the way that it works is that the city council supervises, is kind of essentially the boss of the city manager. I think that what the perception that I have received going door to door and talking to people and having conversations with people is that many times they've said it's unclear as to how that role is, and feel that possibly it's the other way around, that pretty much the city manager presents something and it's agreeable.
Right. That the city manager sets the agenda a lot of the time.
Yes, which is a lot of times what people are continuously saying as I'm having conversation door to door with people.
Okay.
And I think that there needs to be, definitely the city manager has his job to do and does his presentation. But I think there needs to be a little bit more dialogue. And I also strongly believe that the council really truly needs to bring the voice of his constituents more to the table at those discussions.
Okay. Well, what's your position on school privatization, charter schools, things like that?
School is public. I'm a big public school believer. I think that Worcester has some amazing Worcester public schools here. And so we look at, just even in our district, to make my District 4 plug that I love, District 4 has two of the best schools, public schools, not just in the city, not just in the state, but actually in the country. And that's not highlighted enough. And I really believe that public schools should remain public. We have some great schools in this city, and what we need to do is continue to enhance on what's working within our city.
Okay. What's your position on neighborhood councils?
I like the idea of neighborhood council. It's in our charter. I know it hasn't been active. I think it would bring a really strong, a stronger resident voice into our council. I think ideally it would be nice to enhance civic engagement and be a little bit more inclusive of all different parts of the city, bringing forth neighborhood councils.
So if you were elected to the city council, would you be a proponent of neighborhood councils?
I think if it was proposed and after analyzing, I would definitely have to see. I haven't analyzed all the nuts and bolts. What I have heard about it, I really like.
Okay.
I really am very pro-neighborhood. And I think that one of the uniqueness of Worcester also is that each neighborhood has its specific flavor, which is really nice. It's like its style and its culture.
Right.
And so I think that that would really enhance our council.
Okay. Actually, I should probably ask you about District 4. Now, the District 4, in my time in the city, the District 4 race has always been a hotly contested race. There's always been a challenger, and it's always been a strong challenger, and there's always been a certain amount of, a lot of passion on both sides about who's going to be the city councilor. And in my time in Worcester, it's mostly been Barbara Haller has been the city councilor. People have run strong campaigns, but it's been really hard, even the strongest campaign, to get more than like 33% of the vote against Barbara Haller. What can you tell me about this race? Like, why are you running? What do you want to see? How would you be a different sort of city councilor?
Well, why I'm running is that for many years now, people were asking, I would say for the last 10 plus year, a group of people from the community were asking me to run. At the time, I wanted to focus on my children that were much smaller. And I also went back to do my doctorate, and that's what I focused on. Wasn't really sure to do that and continue to do the work that I was doing in the community. Within the last couple years, again, approached and we decided to make that decision.
Yeah.
And really was a community decision. It was really something in response to community, since that was what I would represent.
Okay.
I think that District 4 is a wonderful community. So I'm a product of District 4. I'm raised since 1971, raised actually not too far from here. And I think I turned out okay. And I really want to highlight the good that District 4 has. I think all too often District 4 is a district that is discarded.
Okay.
And I think that we're definitely the district to recognize versus the district to discard. And I think that I could truly represent that. I have a true love for it.
Beautiful, isn't she?
We have people.
Do I have a fan?
That's right.
We have an impromptu audience in the show. How's it going?
Hi.
Hi. Okay.
Hi, sweetheart.
Can I hug you before I go?
Sure. I'm going to see you in a little
Yeah,
bit, too.
I know. I'll be over there, okay?
Love you, Pam.
Thank you.
I'll see you in a little bit.
Okay, I'll be up
over
there. I got everything prepared.
Good to see you.
Okay, I love you.
This is a great show.
I love you.
Okay, great. I'll see you in a little bit.
Okay.
I think that's
Yes.
a kind of a good example. I have really deep roots in this community. It's not about somewhere that I live. I could live anywhere. I choose to live in District 4.
Okay.
It's not about kind of a place, just a district to me. I have strong roots, relationships.
Yeah.
These are streets where I was riding down the hill and I fell and I scraped my face and spent the whole summer kind of hiding half my face. Where I had my first crush, where, I hung out with my best friends that I still to this day have a connection with.
Yeah.
There's something to be said. When you have those roots, you don't represent this district just because you need to represent them. You represent them because they're a part of who you are. So I will be a person in council that will truly represent this district with a heart, because this is a part of me.
Great. Let me ask you, what line of work are you in?
So by trade, I'm a clinical therapist.
Okay.
I'm also an ordained minister. And as an ordained minister, I work as a director of programs. So we have a neighborhood center called the Shalom Neighborhood Center.
Okay.
And we have been working very hard to do community organizing and have done a lot of community type of programs. And I'm involved in different initiatives and programs within the city.
Can you tell me a little bit about the congregation, about your church?
We're a really diverse congregation, so
Okay.
you kind of walk in and you're not, I think a lot of people, because I'm Latina, think it's a Latino church, and you walk in and you're not really sure what we are. And we're an English-speaking church, but you walk in and you don't know if we're Asian, Black, White, Latino, which is really nice. I think it represents a nice flavor of our district.
Yeah.
So we're just a really small community-based church.
The next question, this is a question about finance, and this is a long question, it's actually in 4 parts, so you can sort of take this question however you need to take it. The questions are, where should the city draw the line in taking responsibility for development? Where should the city draw the line when selling off existing assets? How should the city be making its money? And what's the correct tax rate for Worcester homeowners?
So let's go with the first one,
which is where should the city draw the line? Like, how much responsibility does the city government and the city council have for economic development in Worcester?
I mean, I think that definitely we need to work together on economic development. And I think that when you look at things like, Union Station and things like that, and other developments, government needs to have a say. I think what's really important when they're looking at other things in development of, and this is part of the question of selling off assets. I think that one of the things that has been really concerning, and again, I've had this conversation with multiple people as I'm out work talking to people in community, is that I think it's really important for when there's something kind of going to be sold out or done that's going to have a community impact effect. Then at this point, it's not something that just solely is just about government making decision and private developers, but really should bring in community to have this more general discussion as to, what we're going to do, especially with its community impact.
Right.
As far as where money should be coming in, we should be looking at all streams. So obviously there's the taxes, the state money, and grant and funding. And I think that if we can continue to look at those different revenues, streams of revenues, then we can have less stress on residents and businesses.
Okay. What do you think about the tax rate for Worcester homeowners? What would you say is that? Well, no, I guess we always like to ask people, like, what's the correct tax rate? Like, if you could pull a tax rate out of the sky, what would the tax rate be?
God, to be honest, I don't know. I know that we're at 34 and change or something per thousand, and I mean, I think that I really do at this time economically we should support this lowest residential tax.
Okay.
And I think. I know that taxes are where help us move our some of the most of the finances of our government, our local government. But I really think that also in this time, especially I think of the elderly who have retired and are on a fixed income, have worked really hard, paying their mortgage.
Right.
Probably haven't paid off all their mortgage as of yet. May have taken a second mortgage for whatever to help their children through college or whatever have you.
Right.
I think taking into that consideration should look at that. I think in regards to business, and that kind of then people say, well, it's kind of one or the other.
Right.
I think that we also need to be creative as to regarding businesses, where we can alleviate some of their financial burden. And so I was talking to a couple local business people, because I'm a big supporter of small businesses, because in our district, this is like the heart of it, our businesses and our small businesses. And one of the people that's has been starting a local business for some time now, one of the things he talked about was, also being creative. So, for example, like what we pay in insurance in the city of Worcester versus, and so people will kind of put their business like right outside Worcester, the Worcester line. So like Auburn or like Paxton or Rutland. And so right there we lose, because it just these things alone with just insurance is significant, just even where you park your car.
Yeah.
Even like in the Holden line, you could be almost side by side with someone, but they're going to pay significantly less. So looking at how we could, so that in its sense is a more state and more lobbying. So we would have to really begin to work in lobbying with our state reps to take that to a different level. But looking at how we could be creative to alleviate the business owners in other ways.
Yeah. One thing I've heard in talking to people, business people and other people running, is this idea of, like right now, there's a lot of times when the city gives tax breaks to somebody for building something in the city. And the idea would be we should have across the board, anybody who makes a capital improvement to a business property, we won't charge them the taxes on that additional stuff that they've built for 5 years or 10 years. What do you think about something like that?
I think anything that could, like I said, anything that could be creative to help all businesses. And I think that we need to also be inclusive, because I think a lot of times we're really excited to get the big companies and the big businesses, and yes, that's important in the sense of job revenue and taxes and money that comes into the city. But we can't forget the small businesses, the regular kind of mom and pop places. And if they're looking at doing improvements and kind of also neighborhood-based businesses, so you go to different areas like certain parts of Main Street or certain parts of Highland, certain parts of like Green Island, and when they're looking to renovate or to make certain like chunks of areas and businesses working together to whether it's beautifying or looking to enhance their businesses, then we should definitely be very supportive of these groups of people and even individuals as they're starting to do this business, and again being creative with their tax breaks. And I don't think it should be for some and then these haves and these don't have. And I think that is like you're saying, I think that all too often, I agree, it's kind of the
are you big enough or are you well organized enough
yes.
to be able to lobby for that versus just everybody having that opportunity?
Yeah, and I think we have to see what everyone brings to the table, and everyone brings something here in our area, and I think that we need to be respectful and appreciative of what they bring, regardless whether you're a big conglomerate business or a smaller entity.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about sort of other community stuff that you've done before taking the step to run for the council. Usually we ask people, have you been on any city boards or city commissions? I know that you've been like a super neighborhood activist for a long time.
Yeah, so I've been on different initiatives within the city. I worked really hard within the Level 4 school, the Task Force Chandler L.
Okay.
I've been very active with organizations in this neighborhood, strong partner with Worcester Common Ground, Pleasant Street, Women Together. Had met with the mayor at the beginning of this year to really bring forth, to help, bring forth the understanding of what the refugee and immigrant population in Worcester and what wonderful organizations and groups of people were working and how we really needed to look at bringing them together. And he was really great about that. And so they've started this, this kind of group, a coalition to bring refugee and immigrant groups, especially the leadership coming together to organize within this city. I've done a lot of work with family and youth development. I initiated, along with my husband and other clergies, the Clergy Community Police Partnership.
Okay.
I've been part of the mentoring program that the Worcester Police has as well. So I have a very good relationship with the Worcester Police, and they've been good with working with us in our community as well. I also, just the everyday kind of person. I initiated and chair the PTO of my children's school at University Park Campus School. Still volunteer at Jacob Hyatt, where my children went to school, for a chunk of pretty much K through 6.
Yeah.
I've served on the Worcester Common Pathways Leadership. I'm several boards, Central Mass AHAC, different boards and initiatives, the Latino Education Institute, a number of them that we could go on a little bit about.
There you go. Well, I want to ask you one more serious question, but first I want to ask you the non-serious questions. Have you ever seen the television show The Wire?
No, I'm too busy door knocking.
All right, don't worry about it. I don't have to.
Is that your favorite show?
It's not my favorite show, but it's a show that we're asking all the candidates about The Wire. Do you know about this show? I'm not even. People who watch the show are tired of us talking about The Wire.
I have vaguely heard about the show. I think it came up in one of my classes because I do some adjunct teaching.
Yeah.
And I think it came up one time, a discussion in one of my classes briefly. I don't recall a while ago.
There you go. Fair enough. Do you know by any chance how much you can bench press?
No, but I think I'm pretty strong.
Yeah. We need to. I'm glad that we have a table. I wish we had somebody else here to hold the camera. We would do arm wrestling. We could at least. That could at least be the thing.
I would do that.
Yeah. If somebody else comes by, maybe we'll try it. Would you support zoning changes to encourage mixed-use, diverse development of existing neighborhoods to encourage walkability?
Yes, I think that one of the things that we really need to be sensitive of, I would say over 10 years ago, there was a lot of discussion regarding sidewalks and sidewalk repair. And when that occurred, I began to pay attention. So this was maybe I'd say a little over 10 years ago. And there was a group of people doing that. And it made me pay attention to where we were walking through.
Yeah.
And I think that we do have a large amount within our city that takes bus, that walks, and I think it's really good. It's great for the environment, and hence as people now in this issue of whether it's health or whether it's environment, that people are walking more. Also in our neighborhoods, especially in District 4, we have a lot of people that have mobility issues.
Right.
So I think that definitely we need to have a strong consideration as to that we have really functioning areas where people can walk well and get through wheelchairs and strollers. That really made me pay attention to people with wheelchairs and strollers. It's not that easy to get around to some places where you have a stroller. So if you're a mom, that getting through with a stroller, if it's not a good walk, area where you could walk, it becomes very difficult.
Yeah.
So definitely I would support that.
This is actually one of the most walkable neighborhoods. I mean, places where we are right
Yes.
here, because there's like somebody's house, and there's like the
Yes.
grocery store, and there's the
opening.
restaurant, and there's the
Yes.
park, and there's
And
the
the
church.
bus stop is like right over there.
Yeah.
And you get there's Park Ave, and you have all these like little residents. You cross over, you have a Main Street, which is Chandler. You go right down, and you have Elm Park,
Yeah,
which is really nice. You have Pickle Barrel. Who doesn't know Pickle Barrel?
it's pretty awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for
Good
having
luck.
me.
Good luck with your campaigning.
Thank you very much.
I'm Mike Benedetti. This has been 508 for this week, and we'll see everybody next week. Take care.